Hello everyone. So if you missed class or even if you're in class and you still need a little assistance on your quiz that you have today, I'm going to go through some of those questions. So this quiz is over units 3 and 4, so that's everything that we've done thus far this semester. Um, as you go through the quiz, it tells you where you can find the notes. So it says 3.3 begins on page 69 of your student journal. You can use your notes. Hopefully you were taking them, and you can also go back and watch the videos that we gave you guys. So on this question, it says evaluate the function when x equals -5 for when f of x equals -3 minus 12x. So the goal on this one is we're replacing our x for -5. So we're plugging in that value. So we have f of x, which is f of -5, is equal to -3 minus 12 times -5. What you guys can do on this one is you can plug this in a calculator. That is totally fine. Or you can head on over to Desmos. When you're on Desmos, you have to make sure that you use y equals. So our equation is y equals -3 minus 12x. Oops, helps if I have everything typed. There we go. And so then from there, where that x is, I'm going to add in parentheses. So then all I have to do is for that x right there is I replace it with that -5. I'm not going to do that work for you. I'm just going to choose a different number. So I'm going to choose -2. And you can see it gives you the answer. That's the easiest way to go about this question is you plug in the number, it gives you the answer. Simple as that. And so then from there, you'll select the correct answer. Once you've done that, you click next and you head on over to the next question. So you'll see 4.1 begins on page 96 of your student journal. Like I said, you can always go back to those videos and rewatch it. So on this particular question, it says write an equation of the line with the given slope and y-intercept. Slope is equal to -3, y-intercept is equal to 11. So the goal on this one is we're writing the equation in y equals mx plus b form. So you need to remember what slope is and what y-intercept is. If you guys are looking at your notes, so page 96, I believe we wrote this right at the top of our page when we took those notes, and it will tell you slope is equal to this letter and y-intercept is equal to this letter. And we've also talked about it several times. So then all you're doing is you're substituting in the values for your m and for your b. And that's it. That's all you have to do on this one. Next is using the graph or algebraically, what is the slope between the two given points? So they give us these 2 points here. The algebraic method is when we do y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus x1, and that equals your slope. You do need to simplify your answer. So if you don't simplify this and you leave it as a fraction, you will not get it correct. The other way about going about this question is finding your rise over your run. And so again, that's going to create a fraction that you need to simplify. The other thing to point out on this one is your slope positive or negative. If you're not sure, you can always head to your notes. Oh, where'd it go? On page 82, it will help to tell you if you have a positive slope, negative slope, a slope of 0, or an undefined slope. So that's just to help you figure out which direction your slope is going to go. When you put in your answer, you just have to put in the slope. You don't have to put in an equation, nothing else. That's it, just the slope. Next, it says write an equation for a linear function with the given values. F of 3 is equal to 7 and f of 0 is equal to 1. So remember, this means x equals 3 and y equals 7, and then x equals 0 and y equals 1. So there's a couple of ways that you can go about this one. You can take those and make them coordinate pairs. So that'd be 3 comma 7 and 0 comma 1, and head on over to Desmos and put them in. So if I have 3 comma 7 and 0 comma 1. So I'm going to label them so I can make sure I know that they're there. And then you can go back to exactly what we were just doing. You're counting your rise over your run. So anyway, I zoomed out a little far. You just want to make sure that you have the proper scale. There we go. So I would count my rise over my run, and then my y-intercept is the y value when x equals 0. And so this one, the goal is to get it into so y-intercept, look for when x equals 0. Whatever the y value is your y-intercept. Then, if you're trying to find your slope and you don't like using Desmos for whatever reason, you can always go back to your y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So for this particular one, I would do 7 minus 1 over 3 minus 0, and that will give your answer. Again, on this one, you need to make sure you simplify your slope. If it's not simplified, you won't get the correct answer. So this is our goal, to get it in that form. And there's a bunch of different information to help you out. Alrighty, the last section and the last question. It says 3.5 begins on page 79 of your student journal. Rewrite the linear equation in slope-intercept form. So we have 4y minus 8x equals 24. You may do this algebraically or by using the Desmos graphing calculator. If you're doing this algebraically, I'm going to keep it very similar, but I'm going to change up the numbers so you can see that process. So I'm going to do 6y minus 18x equals 6. So the goal here is to get y all by itself. The first thing I want to get rid of is my negative 18x. I know the opposite of a negative 18x is a positive 18x. And so I'm going to add that to both sides. This one goes away, which was the goal. And now I'm left with 6y on this side of the equal sign. And then I have 18x plus 6. I cannot combine those together to get 24x. If I do that, it's not correct because those are unlike terms. Now, again, the goal is still to get y by itself. As we can see, the last and final thing standing in the way is that 6. 6 is multiplying y, and so the opposite of multiplying is dividing. And so that means I have to divide everything on this side by 6. This goes away, which is the goal, so I'm left with just y. I'm going to take 18 divided by 6, which is 3, and my x just gets to hang out, and then 6 divided by 6 is 1. And so that would be my answer. That is obviously not the answer for this question right here, but it is the same process. You're going to start by adding this one, then you're going to divide, and then you have your answer. Now, if you're like, okay, I don't know if I can do it that way. Okay, we'll head on over to Desmos. So I'm going to keep my same equation, 6y minus 18x equals 6. So I have 6y minus 18x equals 6. So it creates my line for me, which is awesome. Does have to work for me. So I'm going to click on that point right there because that's my y-intercept. So that gives me 1 for my y-intercept. Now from there, I'm going to find another point. So, oh, right there. See, 1 comma 4, that's a point. And so I'm just going to type that here so I can see it. And I can see it's directly on my line. And I'm also going to just put my y-intercept on there so I can make sure I can continue to see that. Now, this is like what we've already done. We count our rise over our run. So I count from the lowest point to my highest point because we go from left to right. And so that just happens to be my lowest point. That means I'm going to have a positive slope because my line is increasing. So I get y equals, and if I count my rise, I have 1, 2, and 3. My run is 1, so that means my slope is just 3. So I get 3x. And then we already said what my y-intercept was, which was 1. Oops. Hitting all the wrong buttons. Plus, there we go, 1. And we can see it put the line directly on top of the other line, which means I got it correct. So there you have it. I have now gone through every single question on this quiz. You can always refer back to your notes, but this is a great tool and resource for you to use to assist you on the quiz. Best of luck and make sure you get it done before Sunday at midnight.